Sponsored by Howell Furniture. From 7 News, this is the Fox 29 Morning Show.
Coming up, new information regarding a deadly weekend crash in Beauregard Parish. And it's been 15 years since Louisiana's last execution. The state is set to resume carrying out death sentences.
And it's a much cooler start to the day behind last night's front, so you might want to bundle up out the door. I've got your forecast coming up.
7 o'clock now. It's Thursday morning, February 13th. State police are following up on leads from Sunday's hit-and-run fatality in South Beauregard Parish. Troopers say a potential vehicle and driver have been identified in the death of 17-year-old Jody Cannon. It happened Sunday morning around 4 near Ragley. Troopers say they're using forensic analysis to determine who was driving the vehicle. Anyone with information is urged to contact Troop D State Police. Funeral services, meanwhile, for Cannon will be held this afternoon at 4 at First Baptist Church in Longville. A federal judge has blocked Louisiana's new 25-foot law. The law made it a crime to go within 25 feet of a police officer after being instructed by that officer to step back. The law was signed by Governor Jeff Landry and took effect in August. Since then, a suit was filed against the law by several media companies, including Gray Local Media, claiming the law violates the First Amendment right to gather and report the news. Ultimately, the federal judge, John D. Gravels, blocked the enforcement of the buffer zone because of its vagueness.
Because the problem with the law, it doesn't say when you're making an arrest. It doesn't say when you're on a traffic stop, because those are dangerous situations. It says anytime they're on duty, anytime they're in the performance of their duties, if they're in their patrol car, if they go up and talk to a witness at a restaurant because the witness's vehicle is burglarized, they literally have the authority to say, everybody get back 25 feet.
Steve Thompson is a retired state trooper and is now professor of criminal justice at McNeese State University. He likes the idea of having the authority to get people to step back for a safe distance, but he also feels the law was vague.
I want them protected. I like the idea of this law, but I think if you just simply changed it to something to the effect of the officer has the authority to order people 25 foot back while they're conducting a lawful traffic stop, while they're making a lawful detention, while they're making an arrest. That's reasonable.
Similar laws in Indiana and Arizona have faced legal challenges on constitutional grounds. Anti-death penalty forces around the state are condemning the governor and attorney general for moving forward to resume executions. It's been some 15 years since an execution took place here. That's because lethal injection was nearly impossible. Drug companies did not want to provide the substances for fear of being identified to the public. This past year, the legislature expanded the methods of executing those sentenced to die by adding nitrogen gas. That method is used in Alabama. Michael Cahoon with the Promise of Justice says it's cruel and painful.
Essentially what the method is putting a mask on the individual and pumping nitrogen gas in. So basically what happens is that the individual will suffocate. How long that takes, what their experience is like during that time isn't very well known.
State officials say the death penalty is the law of the land and should be enforced after someone's sentenced to die.
There are a lot of victims and their families who deserve the justice that was promised to them when the people were sentenced to death. This is a method that's been successfully used in Alabama, and it's been litigated all the way up through the United States Supreme Court. I don't believe that it is cruel and unusual, and I think that we've resolved that issue through the Alabama litigation.
Calcasieu Parish has 2 inmates on death row. One, Jason Rees, murdered 4-year-old Mary Jean Thigpen in 2001. And Kevin Daigle, who shot and killed Trooper Stephen Vincent in 2015. They both are still maneuvering through the appeals process. Neither Daigle or Reeves would be set for the next execution, but instead, the first person executed in Louisiana would be Christopher Sepulvedo, convicted in 1993 of killing his 6-year-old stepson. A judge has signed an execution warrant for Sepulvedo. That's the only active warrant for a Louisiana death row inmate. A big court ruling in a landmark case. The Louisiana Supreme Court has upheld a lower court's ruling, reversing Dion Ray Barty's second-degree murder conviction. In the indictment by the Attorney General, Barty was accused of giving 24-year-old Brittany LaPerouse the drug she overdosed on. He was convicted, but an appeals court overturned that verdict. Now the state Supreme Court has agreed, saying prosecutors did not provide sufficient evidence. Southwest Louisiana is no stranger to extreme damage from weather, so the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury is upgrading and strengthening buildings across the parish. Stephanie Obadiku reports.
Damage from storms like Laura, Delta, and others have altered Louisiana's well-being forever. And years later, plenty of areas are still working to get back to how things were before the hurricanes. Like plenty of parish buildings, so the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury's facility management team is working to enhance storm resilience by hardening its infrastructure.
So the hardening projects really serve a couple of different purposes. I mean, obviously, the buildings look better, but it strengthens them. And also, in the event of a storm or a disaster, the resiliency of our structures are way better than they used to be.
These improvements hope to amplify the safety and durability of parish buildings and parks, as well as lead to reductions on insurance premiums and improved coverage.
So imagine a safe vehicle with all the safety features. Your insurance goes down. Same with the buildings, the cladding, the grade of the glass, things like that bolster the resiliency of these buildings, and the insurance companies like that.
The money for these improvements did come from taxpayers as well as locally funded grants. Police Jury President Judd Barris says it's all worth it and that this is a big win and he wants folks to know about it. CPPJ hopes this work will make Southwest Louisiana as resilient as possible to withstand any elements that may come our way. They also say these enhancements will make post-storm repairs faster and more cost-effective. In Lake Charles, Stephanie Obadiku, 7 News.
The strengthening process has been in the works for years and will continue for the next few years. Joseph has a look at your first alert forecast on this Thursday morning. Chilly out there again. It's 49 in Jennings at 7:07.